Very good morning to all of you, brothers and sisters in the Dharma. This morning the talk is on Metta. So I thought that before we begin with the talk, maybe we spend just a few minutes calming down our mind. Is that okay with you? Alright. It's raining outside, so you cannot go outside. So since we're all inside, why don't we sit down, relax, and just clear our minds, develop a clear, cool mind. Now if you like, you can slowly close your eyes. Slowly close your eyes. As you breathe in and out, make your thoughts become very comfortable. Comfortable as you breathe in. Comfortable as you breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Now as you breathe in and out, relax your minds. Make your mind peaceful and calm. Now just radiate loving kindness to yourself. If there is any tension anywhere in your body, just relax yourself. Let go of the tension. Is there any tension on your forehead, in your eye sockets, your cheeks, your lips? If there is any tension, let go of the tension. Completely relax yourself. Now just radiate thoughts of loving kindness to yourself. May I be free from harm and danger. May I be free from mental suffering. May I be free from physical suffering. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. And may I be free from harm and danger. And may I be free from mental suffering. And be free from physical suffering. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. As you radiate thoughts of loving kindness, think of the Buddha's smile, the gentle, loving kindness smile of the Buddha, the smile of compassion towards the world. And you can see, as you see the smile of the Buddha, you relax your minds. May I be free from harm and danger. May I be free from mental suffering. And be free from physical suffering. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. See yourself as being happy, that you are healthy and peaceful. Now let us send these thoughts of loving kindness to our loved ones, either at home or here. Just radiate thoughts of loving kindness to them. May my loved ones be free from harm and danger. May they be free from mental suffering, be free from physical suffering. May they be well, happy, and peaceful. Just send your thoughts of loving kindness to them. Make a wish in your heart that they become well and happy. May my loved ones, wherever they are, be free from harm and danger. May they be free from mental suffering, be free from physical suffering. May they be well, happy, and peaceful. Send out your thoughts of loving kindness to them. Now let us send our thoughts of loving kindness to somebody that we know who has done many wonderful things for us and for which we are very grateful. This person can be our parent, can be our teacher, can be a friend, can be an associate, but someone who has done something good, that we would like to wish him all the best. May this person be free from harm and danger. May he be free from mental suffering, be free from physical suffering. May he be well, happy, and peaceful. Send out your thoughts of loving kindness to this person. Now let us send our thoughts of loving kindness to all beings. May all beings, great or small, living far or near, seen or unseen, beings that fly in the air, that swim in the water, that travel on land, wherever they are, may all beings be free from harm and danger. May they be free from mental suffering, be free from physical suffering. May they be well, happy, and peaceful. May all beings be well and happy. Now you can slowly open up your eyes, and as you do, you find yourself becoming very relaxed, happy, and alert mentally. You can slowly open up your eyes. So, brothers and sisters, what we have done just now is just a very short session on what we call Metta, or loving kindness meditation. It is something that you can do anywhere. You can do while traveling in the bus, while you're in a lift, while you're waiting for a friend. It's something while you're just sitting on a bed, getting ready to go to bed, going to sleep. It's something that you can do. And it's got a lot of good benefits if you do that, okay? But even before talking about Metta meditation, let me just mention to you that Metta is, of course, one of the 10 perfections. And for anybody to make real spiritual progress, they would have to cultivate compassion and loving kindness in their hearts. Why is this so? Because within our human mind there's a lot of anger. There's a lot of tension, anger, anxiety within our minds. Sometimes we don't realize it. It's only when the anger bursts forth, when we start quarreling with other people, we start shouting, banging the tables, then we realize, oh, we're angry. Sometimes even then we don't believe you're angry. People say you're angry. You say, no, I don't think so. Bam, bang the table. I don't think so, I'm angry. You say, you are angry. No, I'm not. And we start fighting because of that. Like some people, when they get drunk, you say, don't drive. They say, I'm not drunk, I can drive. And they quarrel. This is the problem of anger. Sometimes we don't realize it when it occurs. But even when the anger doesn't occur at such a gross level, there is a lot of anger within our hearts. When things do not turn out right, when the weather gets too hot, if you ride your motorbike or if you drive a car and somebody just happen to cut into your lane while they're cleaning out, well, how do you feel? Anger, just coming out. It's so natural. When you're queuing up in a line and somebody in front of you calls and come, stand in front of me. I've been standing here for 1 hour, and how can this guy cut in front of me? You see, it just arises. It is very natural for a human mind to have these kinds of emotions. So, if we like to see ourselves progressing spiritually, we must learn how to come to terms with this kind of anger that exists in our human mind. So in our human mind, we have got a lot of craving, a lot of attachment. We've got gross craving, like things that we like, we don't like, and we've got very fine craving. Little things that make us tick, certain things that create interest in us. And sometimes we don't even realize it. Even like when you sit on a chair, and as you wiggle yourself in the chair, when you feel uncomfortable, even as you move your hand, Even if you twitch your finger, that is because of craving or aversion. Because why? Because you are craving for some other sensations which is more pleasant. But the current sensation that you're having is unpleasant. If you've been sitting in one position for too long, when you change your position to another, it's because you're not happy with that position, which is aversion, and you crave for a better position. So even like shifting a finger has got something to do with craving, you see. So if this is the case, how is it that we can gain enlightenment? So in the process of enlightenment, we have to begin purifying ourselves, getting rid of ourselves from these thoughts of anger, knowing how to deal with these thoughts. Now, one of the things, in order to overcome this anger, now if you have a lot of anger in your mind, it doesn't do you any good. I know that when I was small, I used to hear old people say, sometimes when little kids, you quarrel, people say, don't be so angry, because you're all hot-tempered, you grow old quickly, you look over, all the lines appear on the face. So if you don't want to grow old so quickly, don't get angry so much. I think it's quite true. And anger is actually a poison. It kind of poisons your whole system. So in order to do that, we have to kind of purify our mind with loving kindness. Now, what is metta? We use this beautiful term called metta. Now, metta is what we call a universal, boundless love for all beings. It is a universal loving kindness. We see we radiate thoughts of loving kindness to all beings in all directions. Boundless means that it doesn't have boundary. It doesn't mean, I like him because he's my brother, he's my sister, he's my good friend. But I do not like him because he's my competitor, he's the one who didn't say hello to me this morning, or whatever. So that kind of love is what you call bounded love, and that is not metta. Metta is boundless love for all beings without discrimination. So you don't draw boundaries. So whether it is a person whom you like or a person whom you do not really care so much, you still radiate to him thoughts of loving kindness. You think this is possible? You still wish him, may you be well, may you be happy. So that is why in the practice of loving kindness, we always begin with ourselves first. You radiate to yourself, may I be well, may I be happy. And when you feel relaxed and happy, then you say, maybe the other person too wants to be just as happy as I do. I may not like him very much, or he can be my enemy, he can be my competitor, but he too wants to be happy. He's just like me too. Even that animal down there, that creature down there doesn't want to die. He doesn't want to suffer, he doesn't want to be sick. He wants to be happy too. So let me wish him thoughts of loving kindness. So it's nothing to do with likes or dislikes. It is more of this kind of wishing, this boundless love to all beings without discrimination. And loving kindness is a concern for the well-being of others. It is a compassion, concern that you want other beings to be well. It is an expression of a very good quality of the heart. You wish for their well-being and happiness. So this metta, this universal loving kindness, is not just bounded by loved ones. Not, these are my loved ones. We used to draw boundaries. Who is the one whom you love most of all in this world? Can you tell me? If you're thinking of a girlfriend or boyfriend, I don't think so. It's yourself. Self-love. That's the greatest love. At least in Buddhism, we are quite practical. We recognize it. We recognize that people, essentially, people without a cultivated mind, who have not cultivated their mind, love themselves most of all. Right? But then, if you really love yourself, then you should try to do things to make yourself happy. And the way to do things that can bring you happiness and greatest benefit is not to feed your senses, is not to do things out of selfish motives, but to do things for the happiness of other people. Because when you do these kind of things, then it brings you happiness, then you're looking after yourself very well. So strange, it's paradoxical. If you're concerned about yourself and you want everything for yourself, then you become unhappy. So that is not the best way of serving your best interest. Okay? So you have to try to do things to make other people happy. Okay? So first we have this love for ourselves. Then we have the love for our loved ones, the love for our kakis, or your good friends when you go out film show with, or whatever. Then you've got bigger circles. It goes in bigger concentric circles. Then those whom you are neutral. And then maybe you've got the small clusters of people whom you do not particularly like because of the way they speak to you, the way they have treated you in the past, because of their attitudes towards you or whatever. So you consider them to be your enemies, all right? So you can almost draw like circles, like onion rings all around yourself, okay? But metta doesn't have anything to do with this. This is what we call limited love. This is the kind of love that we have. Again, metta is not a romantic love. Romantic love sometimes don't live so long. Sometimes they talk about love, endless love, and love up to eternity, but sometimes from what we see, sometimes it's not even eternity, it doesn't have to wait for eternity. Sometimes only lasts for the next 3 days. Sometimes even shorter than that. Now, romantic love is sometimes this kind of feeling of the heart, Sometimes infatuation, getting attracted to somebody, But it is not a kind of love which is very stable. And a lot of this love has to be with me. Now, I love this person because, this person is such a thing, and I like that very, very much. So it's got something to do with us. It's got to do with a lot of attachment. But loving kindness is not like that. It goes beyond that. It goes beyond loved ones. It goes beyond friends, beyond neutral ones, beyond enemies. So it is a very beautiful concept. And in the Karaniya Metta Sutta, the Sutra for loving kindness, the Buddha has given an equivalent of how is it that we can develop this kind of love. And he says, just like a mother would risk her life for the sake of her only child, so do we develop boundless love for all beings. So let us imagine that we are all mothers in a sense. Even if you're a male, it's okay. Just for today. Just imagine that you're like a mother of all beings in this world. And like a mother would protect her only child, even at the risk of her life. Let us develop boundless love for all beings. Because the mother's love is a very pure kind of love. Just love and concern for the child. Not for her own sake, but for the child, for the well-being of the child. Father also something like that, feeling the same kind of love for the child as well. But somehow the world is just mother's love. So I guess the mother has been carrying the child with her for 9 months. Father has been looking. Of course, father also has got this what you call paternal love. Father also gets very tense. I was still sometimes during the delivery, sometimes the father might suffer just as much as the mother. Because he stands filled with a lot of anxiety, whether she's undergoing the labor pain. So it's a different kind of pain. But the love of a mother is a very pure kind, very noble kind of love. So you can have that kind of love and radiate it to all beings, without discrimination. Wishing that may all beings be well and happy. So this is the kind of love that is not bounded by ego or I. Alright? So are you clear with this concept of metta? So this is not the kind of romantic love that people have. It goes beyond that. Not to say there's anything wrong with romantic love. Sometimes romantic love began at that level, and then it begins to develop further, and as it matures, you begin to have a feeling of a lot of love which goes beyond that romantic love. And later on there's a lot of metta also. So this kind of love can actually take root and grow. Alright. Now this is the kind of metta that has always been often explained, this universal kind of love. I'm sure many of you have heard of this explanation before. Now let me give you another approach to metta. And this approach is regarding loving kindness as loving acceptance. Alright? So this is talking about universal love, love without boundaries, love without discrimination, loving our enemies, our friends alike. Let us now consider loving kindness as loving acceptance. What is loving acceptance? Loving acceptance means that it's a non-judgmental love. What is judgmental love? Judgment is, I like, I don't like. This is nice, this is not so nice. That's what you call judgment. Now this kind of love is what you call open acceptance love. You accept everything with an open-handed kind of thing of the present moment. You accept the present moment as it comes from moment to moment without saying, oh, this I like, that I don't like. And it happens from moment to moment. Sometimes we have feeling of pain. We say, oh, we don't like pain. Or you feel hungry. I don't like the feeling of hunger. You got headache. I don't like the feeling of headache. And then sometimes when you sit down, you've got some very nice thoughts and you say, well, I like that kind of thoughts. Or you have a smell of curry when it's about 12:30 and you say, oh, I like that smell. Or that's my favorite curry. So it is not that kind of, it is an open-handed acceptance of whatever comes. Accepting a situation or a person as it is without imposing our views in it. Not saying I like or I don't like. So you take it as it comes. With loving acceptance as it appears, as it unfolds before us from moment to moment. That is another aspect of metta also. So you open up your hands, you open up your heart and accept things as it flows by. Without saying, I like this or I don't like that. Okay? It also means that when we're dealing with another person, that we accept a person, we recognize a person for both his strengths as well as his weaknesses. Sometimes what happens when two people get together, so one person says, well, this person has got this kind of qualities, but not enough, and this kind of weakness. I'm going to catch hold of him and mold him until he begins to be like this model person, isn't it? Sometimes it's like that. It happens all the time. It happens in families, a father or a mother wanting to mold a child into what they want. He says, my child is like this. I want my child to be like this, like this, like this, right? So we try to mold, and if the parents are very domineering, then the child will really feel pressured. Sometimes it happens in the office situation. Your boss wants you to fall into a certain image because he's got an idea that all my subordinates must be like this. So he wants to mold people into a certain image. Sometimes even the relationship between a young man and a young woman, the young woman wants a young man to be like this, like this, like this. So she draws her rules. But of course she doesn't tell him right at the start, is it? But back in her mind she says, how can I make him like this, turn him so that he becomes like this. And he will be thinking, how can I make her like that, So, in loving kindness, it is just an open-handed acceptance. It's a mutual respect. You recognize a person for his strength and accept him for his weaknesses without any value judgment. The wonderful thing about this is that you help a person to build on his strength and help him to overcome his weaknesses without inbuilding tension, inbuilding anxiety and fear. As normally when we try to manipulate people, that we create a lot of anxiety, and a person cannot be natural, cannot grow in a very natural way. We don't allow a person to breathe in a very natural way, to be himself or herself, because we impose views. We put people in very tight caste, in certain kind of categories, and say that this person must fall into that category and not that category. And it becomes very constrictive. It strangles the person to death, actually. So this is another way of understanding metta, to make it a kind of an open acceptance. You recognize a person for his strength as well as his weakness. Now let me give you a story. There once was a priest, and this is, I think it was in China, and he was chanting away, all right? Chanting. And while he was chanting, you see, they say the temple is not a very wealthy place. But somehow, sometimes in China, people are very desperate when they don't have money. So this guy broke into the temple and started looking around what are the things he can take. So he opened the drawers and took all the things, and he even took the candlesticks, So eventually he opened one of the drawers and there is some kind of some money maybe to pay like temple expenses and all that. And he wanted to check everything. So this priest was chanting, never said a word, And eventually he wanted to take the whole bag of the coins. And the priest says, hey, wait a minute, don't take everything. I need some to pay the taxes, So, okay, he leaves some. And then, very quietly, as he was leaving the door, the priest says, after you have taken something, what must you say? Oh, then he says, thank you, The priest went on journey and the thief went off. A few days later, he was caught, So the authorities found out that in his bag, he's got all kinds of things, including the temple candlestand and all that. So they went to the temple. They knew it came from the temple. So asked the priest, he said, do you say that this man was a thief? So all the witnesses came and said, oh, this guy stole like this, like that. The priest says, actually no, He came to the temple and he even said thank you to me. So what happened? It seems that this man was sent to prison. But after he came out to the prison, the very first place, guess where he went? He went to the temple and became a disciple of the monk. And later on, he actually became a very good monk. This is what they say loving acceptance, The priest accepts him for what he is. And because of the love that the priest had for him, the Metta, he was very deeply touched by it. And that 5 years in prison completely changed him. And he still remembered the kindness of the priest. And he came back to become his disciple. Alright? So, it means recognizing a person for his strength and his weakness. In other words, recognizing a person's Buddha nature. Okay? And you love him for that and help him to realize the Buddha nature. The other thing about loving kindness, regard loving kindness as loving acceptance, is to encourage other people around us to open up themselves, to let go, and to live in the present moment without fighting. So it allows them to be their true spontaneous self without trying to reshape them, enable people to be very natural. The other thing is that you should also have respect for the other person, no matter how small he is, how little he is, we also regard him with respect. Sometimes we live in a society which goes by hierarchy. You call it a hierarchical society.
Some societies are like that. So if I'm in this position, you are below my position, so I do not speak to you with respect at all. I just call you by your name. But because I am of a higher position than you, then you have to call me by a certain kind of, you have to speak to me in a certain way, you have to take things from me in a certain way. So in some societies, they have very, very structured like that. But even if you live in a society like that, if you have metta, then you should regard all beings with equal respect. This is extremely important. Even a little child needs respect. Don't mistreat a child, because remember that little child can one day be a great teacher. Sometimes we misunderstand. Sometimes very great teachers pass away and gets reborn again as a child. So we don't misunderstand when a small child comes to you and correct you, because there could be the seeds of a very great teacher later on. So even with a little child, you must regard him with respect. And it means also to speak with kindness and with appreciation, whatever you do. Have a heart which says thank you all the time. Or like in India, they say namaste. In India, you put your palms together, you say namaste, namaste. Namaste means I salute you. So have that kind of thought in your mind that I salute you. A mind of respect, a speech of kindness and appreciation. Now, Howard Gibran has got a very nice writing on love, which I just want to mention in relation to what I was talking just now. We were talking about, for instance, if you have to live with people, you have to be with people, sometimes even friends, that you're so close to one another that you begin to think that you're really one and the same. But this is about love. Khalil Gibran says that love one another, but make not a bond of love. Let it rather be a moving sea between the shores of your soul. Don't make it into a kind of a bond, a compound, but more like a kind of a moving sea which touches the shore. Fill each other's cup, but not drink from one cup. Give one another of your bread, but not eat from the same loaf. Sing and dance together and be joyous, but let each one of you be alone. There must be still a sense of separateness. Even as the strings of a lute or the strings of a guitar are alone, though they quiver with the same music, the strings of the guitar have to be apart. If you put them together, they cannot make any sound. Yet, although they are apart, they quiver to the same music, and they respond to the same music. Give your hearts, but not into each other's keeping. For only the hand of life can contain your hearts, and stand together, yet not too near together. For the pillars of the temple stand apart. Pillars of the temple must stand apart to support the roof. And the oak tree and the cypress grow not in each other's shadow. For an oak tree to grow, they must not grow in each other's shadow. They must stand apart. That means mutual respect for one another. Not one party dominating the other party, completely snuffing out everything from the other one. Sometimes it happens when people are very close to one another. So it means having metta, having loving acceptance for the other person. Loving acceptance also means loving acceptance of the present moment. At any moment we sometimes experience fear, pain, grief, anger, sadness, separation, frustration, happiness. Various kinds of mental states arise and fall in the mind. When you feel anxious, when you're filled with anxiety, what do? The very natural tendency of us is to kind of push away. This is very natural. All through our life we've been fighting. We've been fighting and, we're either fighting to keep something away or in order to have more of something else. So you find that it is a tendency of the mind to push away unpleasant experiences. This is a form of an aversion. So the mind pushes away, but when something attractive comes our way, we try to grasp it, we try to hold it. We do not want to kind of let it go. Alright? Now, in the case of metta, what we do is we have the loving acceptance of the present moment. We just let it be in self-awareness and compassion instead of pushing it away. So in meditation, this means you recognize this anxiety as a mental state. And instead of pushing away this mental state, you see it as a possibility for you to open up, for you to be more mindful, for you to soften your mind so that it becomes more receptive more gentle, more relaxed. So you do not struggle with things which are painful. You don't say, oh, my back is painful. Oh, my leg hurts. When you say, my leg hurts, the idea of mind on that, it becomes even more painful. Instead of doing that, you just accept it for what it is. Loving acceptance of the present moment. You don't fight with it. You let it be. And then you radiate thoughts of loving kindness to it. Alright? So, whatever things which arises in your mind or in your body, or whatever things which arises through your interaction with other people, you let it be. You let it happen. For instance, when you feel angry, say a person says something to you, what happens? It's very natural to feel angry. It doesn't mean that when you practice metta meditation, you don't feel angry. No, not that. I believe when you practice metta meditation, you know how to handle anger better. But this anger is a very natural reaction. It is a reaction based on our karma, based on our past imprints, the mental imprints that we have done in the past. Because of the imprints that we have done in the past, now we are reacting in a certain way. That's why we feel angry. But if you have not learned how to develop yourself, you have not learned how to practice metta, when you get angry, you get very angry when the other person makes you angry. And not only that, not only do you get angry with that person, not only do you want to shout at that person, but after going back, you say, how can the person say such a thing to me? Now, how can I get back at him again? So you begin to think, oh, maybe, what is the best way of getting back at him? Maybe I should do like this. Maybe I should do like that. So you begin to think of all the ways in order to hurt him. Not knowing that each time when you hurt him, that same action of hurting him hurts you even more. It's like a double-edged sword. Each time when you cut somebody, you also cut yourself. But you don't know. Because you're actually cutting yourself. You're making yourself more painful. You're creating for yourself a lot of imprints which will bring a lot of suffering for you later on. Alright? So instead of that, once you have already been practicing metta, now anger arises. Somebody says something to you, shoo, the anger arises. The very first thing that you should do is you should recognize it. You should recognize, oh, it's anger. Acceptance. You accept it. You don't say, no, I don't think I'm angry. No, don't tell me I'm angry. But your face is purple, and you can see all the veins standing out, and your what they call it, your forehead is throbbing away. Your temper is very, no, I'm not angry. Don't tell me I'm angry. I get very angry when people tell me I'm very angry. So living acceptance, you accept, oh, yes, anger has risen, yes. Yeah. Of course, anger, there are natural characteristics of anger. When anger arises, there are some other mental factors which arises with it as well. And they are what you call unwholesome mental factors. Unwholesome cetasikas. And these unwholesome mental factors makes the mind feel very agitated. So you feel anxious. Then your veins get constricted. Your arteries get constricted. You feel as if somebody is pressing on your heart. And the whole body is actually going through a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. Very unpleasant feeling. Of course, it's not a very pleasant feeling, I mean, the next time if you haven't noticed this, next time when somebody makes you angry, just notice, just stand there and notice. What is the kind of things that you go through? You notice that it's a lot of unpleasant feeling. So this unpleasant feeling creates more reason for you to dislike this anger, alright? So instead of disliking it, don't dislike. In other words, don't be reactive. Don't have a kind of reactive attitude. Don't fight with it. Don't deny it, because it will only make it worse. What you should do is to recognize it. Have forgiveness for yourself and practice loving kindness to that anger. Alright? So the first level, number one, what you do is you recognize it. Recognition. You recognize that, oh, anger has a reason. Without resistance, open-handed acceptance. And number two, you accept it. You accept the fact that, oh, I'm angry. This is the present moment that I'm experiencing anger. And when you do that, your mind begins to soften. There's a softening, the opening up of your mind. And thirdly, you radiate loving kindness to it. You send loving kindness. Even to the anger, you can send loving kindness to your anger. And that will help to transform that anger. Alright? Now, I'll give you an example. Now, about 3 weeks ago, I went on this retreat on Metta. And sometimes when you have been sitting down on the floor for day in and day out, you wake up in the morning or 3, maybe 4 o'clock in the morning, and you sit and stand, sit and stand, sit and walk, sit and walk. And if you do that for a few days, I tell you, your back or your knees, Do not feel like your back and knees anymore. There's pain everywhere. When you sit down, there was pain. So when I was sitting down at a certain stage, there was pain, and the pain was excruciating pain, It was excruciating pain. Is a terrible kind of pain as if somebody is trying to pull you apart. And the leg is so painful. And then you have to kind of watch the pain and sit loving kindness of pain. And at the back of the mind say, may you be well, may you be happy, stand. But the mind is fighting everything. So the more you resist, the more painful it becomes. So sometimes it can be so painful that you can even tremble out of the pain. So when you go to a retreat, you see people trembling with pain. It's only that he's trying to face the pain. So it was very terrible. And this my teacher says that no moving, no shifting position. So you have to sit down like that, put up with the pain. It was terrible. That is when the mind hasn't become concentrated, when the pain becomes very intense. Once the mind becomes concentrated, then you get over it. So before that, it's quite painful. So I went to see the teacher and said, the pain is really quite terrible. And the teacher says, no moving, no matter what happens. And then he gave me then I told him, the pain is very excruciating, very, very painful. Then he gave me an example. This is one day, he decided to do 2 root canal on his tooth. Root canal is, what they do is they drill. You see, in the West, they don't, if you have got toothache, they don't pull out your teeth. Okay, once you pull out your teeth, what happens, once you've got the gap, the teeth will begin to move around, Once the teeth move around, what happens to your gums? Your gums will get shrunken, so you get very old. And the thing is not only that, once your teeth has been pulled out, you cannot grow your teeth anymore, right? So instead of pulling out your teeth, what they do is they do a root canal. They drill a hole in your teeth, remove the center of your teeth, including the very sensitive part, and they fill it up again, and then it's like a natural teeth, but it's a big tooth, so it doesn't feel anything. That's what you call a root canal. It costs a bit more than pulling your teeth, but it's very painful. So most of the time when you do a root canal, it may take about 45 minutes or 1 hour, opening up the mouth, all the dentures have to grill and then 40 minutes. It's terrible. So normally what they do, they inject several parts of the mouth. And now this meditation teacher says that he doesn't want any anesthetic. Doesn't want the injection, So the dentist says, what? Chances couldn't believe it. He said, no anesthesia, and he's going to do 2 root canals. So he says that the moment when they started the drill, straight away he finds himself tensing up. You see, because this is a natural reaction. Just like the way when you sit down in Metta or meditation, when you sit down when the pain arises, it is a very natural tendency for us to resist the pain. I mean, this is one of the ways in which we protect ourselves, and that's how we can survive for so long. Self-protection. We resist the pain. So he kind of tenses his body. Then after he says, no, loving acceptance. So because of that, he begins to relax himself. So when they drill, of course he experiences the pain, right? But he only recognizes the pain as it arises and as it falls. Not like some people. Some people, when you do something to them, maybe like sometimes when we get slapped, even long after the pain subsides, we still experience the pain. But then the pain is not on the face anymore. The pain is in the heart. So he just notices the pain as it arises and falls. And after the root canal is over, the pain just disappears. He doesn't have that kind of pain like most people after root canal. The whole mouth will be bengkak and cannot do this, cannot do that. So it was tremendous. I mean, can you imagine a person doing a root canal without anesthetic? So this is, even doing a root canal, you can send loving kindness to it. And he also gave me an example. He says, if you feel that sitting down is very painful, one of these days, say, if you meet with an accident, if both your legs have been completely destroyed in an accident, and say if you happen to die, what happens? If you cannot handle the excruciating pain, what kind of rebirth would you have? So it's very important for you to get beyond that kind of pain. Alright? So after feeling very inspired of what he said, so I decided to sit down in meditation again. Body all aching, when you go for meditation, so you sit down and meditate. And as the mind gets very concentrated, and of course the pain as usual starts coming up. But when I tell myself, no fighting with the pain, no war now, no fighting now, loving acceptance of the present moment, I find it, my mind gets softer and softer. And suddenly, I just see the pain just disappear. There wasn't any pain, absolutely. So the pain just kind of evaporated, and you wonder, hey, where did the pain go? You can't find the pain anymore. Then that makes you wonder, where is the pain in actuality? Is the pain actually in your mind or in your body? So then I realized that the pain is not in the body, but the pain is in the mind. It is in the mind. Huh? So this is a very remarkable thing. You just send loving, acceptance, loving, it disappears. And you just sit down there, you search for it, the pain has just disappeared. Very remarkable. Huh? And it didn't happen once, it happens a couple of times. Huh? Because I don't think I was dreaming. Huh? It just happens this way. So this is what loving acceptance can do for us. It kind of softens the part that is paining. And it makes it more acceptable. And then you send loving kindness, and that's how you cope with it. But again, when you send loving kindness or something, don't do it with the hope that, oh, I want the pain to go away. You mustn't expect anything. Huh? If it goes away, that's fine. If it doesn't go away, that's okay. Still have a loving acceptance for it. Right? So this is a kind of a very practical kind of thing that I can actually share with you. Okay. Alright, so you recognize this mental situation, whether it's pain or happiness. First is recognition. Huh? Recognize it with open-handed acceptance. Number two, you accept it. Accept it. With lovingness, with loving acceptance. That has to open up, and then you send loving kindness to that. It's not so hard. In principle, not so hard. Well, you need to practice it. Make it as part of a habit. Now, what is the effect of this attitude that we have? Number one, it helps us to look at the emotions in a completely new dimension. So, the emotions that we experience is no longer an enemy to fight with. Each time when we have an unpleasant emotion, we feel, oh, it's an enemy, wrestling match. These unpleasant emotions are not enemies. They are really our friends. Our friends to watch and to learn from. And wisdom is gained through the deeper understanding of this mental and physical process. So it means going beyond what strikes the eye. This is the purpose of meditation, to go beyond, to go much deeper. So even these unpleasant situations when they arise, they are not our enemies, but in fact they are our friends. So we have loving acceptance to it. And we learn that we learn to accept them as a friend, and we learn from them because they are part of this mental and physical process that we like to understand better. We no longer are afraid of them. No longer afraid of ideas like fear, even fear, dislike. We don't even try to suppress them, suppress our emotions, force our emotions into some kind of distorted, contorted things, mold that we want it to fall into. No longer like that. We just accept it with loving acceptance as it arises and as it falls, without clinging on to it, without pushing it away. And then you find that it is actually part of this whole process of rising and falling. So the truth is, simply watch it and send loving thoughts to it. Similarly, when the mind is filled with anger, with remorse, with dislike and fear, well, there is a sense of separateness between the mind and heart. When the mind is filled with this kind of ideas, the heart seems to be kind of separated. But when the mind becomes very clear, then the heart is no longer choked with this kind of emotions. So the heart and the mind becomes one. Like the Chinese word, sin. The Chinese word is, the heart and mind is one. In the Chinese, the heart is, the mind is not really here. The mind is really much in the heart. It's the unity of the mind and the heart. Okay? An unchoked heart. So the idea is that our attitude is to be open to sensations and mental states as they arise, because this has tremendous benefits for us. This attitude helps us to learn how to forgive in a very easy way, helps to soften our hearts, helps us to allow, to relax ourselves without pushing, without clinging to states. It's the loving acceptance of the present moment. Okay? And of course, when we do this, it helps healing at the deepest level. You know, actually within our minds there's so much tension, so much things being choked inside. I remember once we had this Metta retreat. That was prior to the one which I just mentioned to you. That was sometime in September, I think. We had this Metta sitting, and we had this radiation of loving kindness, and there's somebody from Pahang, who came all the way to Pahang for this Metta retreat. And when he did Metta, he found that his whole heart area is being congested and very, very tight. So he was wondering how come he couldn't feel the Metta, and how come his whole chest, nothing is constricted. So I asked him whether he has experienced, whether in his, whether he was holding back something, whether there is some kind of emotional state that he went through that he didn't want to let go. And he told me, yes, it's true. That there was some kind of experience which he didn't want to tell me what it was, but that he wanted to hang on to. So my advice to him was that, why don't you just let go? Don't cling to it. Just let it go. So after that, then that afternoon we had Metta sitting, and at the end of my Metta sitting, he was completely radiant, and that happens to be the last sitting we had for the day, I mean, for the whole retreat also. And it was completely radiant. He was so happy, and he says, the Metta sitting was so wonderful. For once, he could actually feel the flow of Metta because he learned how to let go. Otherwise, he finds that he's being choked inside, and that's true with all of us. And we just examine our mind. There's a lot of emotions, a lot of things that we have not thrown away that we have kept in the heart. Now, we have forgotten about those things, it's true, but the mind doesn't really completely forget it. It lies in our unconscious mind, it lies in our subconscious mind. So our whole mind is all tied up in knots. So when we begin to have loving acceptance to it, we learn completely how to relax our mind. And because the mind becomes relaxed, the mind begins to heal itself. And not only sometimes that you can cure it, but you can even use it to cure someone else. Now, sometimes when I go to London, not that I go to London very often, but when I go to London, I have a friend down there who happens to be a friend of my sister-in-law, who has an apartment in London. So every time when I go to London, I put up in that apartment, because there's this kind of a spare room down there. All right? Because in London, things are, accommodation is quite expensive. So if you go on holiday, you spend on accommodation, you go for car. So instead of 10 days, you maybe have to stay there for 5 days. So it's very nice if you have a friend who's got a kind of an apartment. Now, eventually later on, I heard that she's got cancer of the ribs. And she's alone down there. She's working down there, single person. And she got a cancer of the ribs. And she was undergoing this treatment. It was very, very painful in London. And even the hair was falling out. And she has just managed to pay for the apartment, and now she has to think about selling the apartment because her time is given already. They say that she's got only so much to live. And it seems that one day somebody introduces her to a yogi, and this yogi has done meditation. And it seems that one day somebody introduces her to a yogi, and this yogi has done meditation. And she went for the treatment. Just radiation, that this yogi, what he did was he just radiated the thoughts to her. And would you believe it? That completely cured her. That was 1 year ago. And now, I haven't seen her, but it seems that she's around. She's just visited Malaysia for a while. It seems that she looks even better than before. And she's completely cured. And the doctors didn't know how. This is the wonderful thing about the mind, something that we cannot completely understand. And even Metta is the same. You can completely heal yourself with a pure mind of loving kindness. I was told that when a person does Metta meditation up to that stage of mental absorption, to jhana, the whole body kind of changes, And you're completely healed. You're like getting a new body. You become very healthy after that. You know that when you are very happy, even your cells become happy. You're multicellular beings. When you're happy, not only you are happy, all the cells are happy. So when a person does Metta for a long time, even the cells in the body will change. Even the cells become happy. I'm happy, so all the cells are happy. So that's why you look very radiant when you do Metta. It's true. That's why they say when people do Metta, they look very good. All radiant, shining, sparkling. But you shouldn't do Metta just because you want to sparkle. You should do Metta because it's good to purify your mind out of anger. So when you do Metta, it heals you at the deepest level. Healing at the deepest level. And it makes you natural. It makes the mind very happy. Now, of course, I can talk about doing metta as a meditation, but maybe I shouldn't talk too much about this, because if we really want, then we should maybe do it, maybe there's not enough time even to talk about metta meditation now. But there are many methods of doing metta meditation, as all of you know. You have read about the various methods of it. The most common method is, of course, you radiate, to your friend, to yourself. The first thing is you radiate to yourself, and then you radiate to a respected friend, especially this friend of the same sex who inspires you, who has got good qualities. When you think about this person, it wants to make you smile, and smile is a kind of that happiness kind of smile, not a smirk, but a kind of a very happy smile. You have good associations when you think of this person. So you use this person as an object for your meditation. So you think about him, visualize him, and you radiate thoughts of loving kindness to him. So this is one way how people develop metta. And then, of course, they try to extend it to other beings. Okay? Now, if you're starting your meditation, if you're a beginner meditation, there are 4 kinds of people that you shouldn't radiate metta. I should also mention this. That you shouldn't radiate metta to someone who is very close to you, whom you are very strongly attached to. That one you shouldn't do metta. Because if you're a beginner, your mind is not stable, you shouldn't use that person as a basis for your metta. You shouldn't do metta to a dead person. You shouldn't do metta to somebody of the opposite sex. You shouldn't do metta to somebody who is unpleasant when you're starting out. Okay? Later on, I mentioned about how you radiate metta to yourself, then to a friend, then later on you can radiate to a neutral person, to an unpleasant person, to an enemy, and all that. Okay, so there is one way of radiating metta. The other way of radiating metta is the 528 ways of radiating metta. I think some of you who have been at the Inkova and some of the retreats will already know how to do this. Some of you, I think, can do this very well also. 528 ways of radiating metta. You know how to do that? Just going through the whole sequence may take you about 1 hour, depending on how fast you are. If you're very slow, it takes 1.5 hours. You're fast, can take you about, I think 35 minutes is about the fastest, like a train, really fast. It means that you have 4 wishes, radiated in 11 directions. Well, radiated to 12 beings first. Radiated 4 wishes to 12 beings. So for every being, you radiate 4 wishes. Okay? And then in 11 directions. That means you begin with the east, northeast, and so on, the cardinal points. You have 8. Bottom, above, that's 10, and then all around, that's 11. So 4 multiplied by 12 multiplied by 11 will give you 528 ways of radiating metta. And this kind of radiation of metta is, if you do it is possible to bring you into very deep states of concentration. You can get into deep concentration, even into metta. So you can sit for 2-3 hours just doing this. You can get into very deep metta meditation. Okay. So, and of course, the kind of happiness that you get from meditation, I don't think there is any happiness that you get in this worldly kind of happiness that can be compared to the happiness that you get out of meditation. It's different, The happiness that you get eating your favorite bakute, or whatever, or listening to your favorite music, that kind of happiness is very gross, and it rises and falls very quickly. It's not fine. But that kind of happiness is nowhere compared to the happiness that you get when you do meditation. Because the meditation you do is a wholesome meditation. The mind becomes very bright, very alert, and very clear. And sometimes the mind becomes so clear that you find that you are only sleeping for 2 hours per night. And you wake up very bright, and you say, I only slept for 2 hours. But how come I feel so bright and I feel like wanting to continue my meditation again? This only works in a retreat. I don't try this every day. Otherwise you get knocked out. Only in a retreat it's possible to sleep for 2 hours when the mind becomes very clear and bright. And it's a very relaxed state of mind. Relaxed, clear, and very happy. It's a kind of a happiness without any tinge of sorrow, you know. Very happy. But of course, this kind of happiness, no way compared to the happiness of Nibbana. I must say that I haven't experienced the taste of Nibbana, yeah. But, so I was told this kind of happiness is no way compared to the taste of Nibbana. Okay? So of course, when the mind becomes happy, yeah, when a person does meditation, when the mind becomes happy, therefore you will sleep very well. Huh? You wake up very bright and well. Your dreams are always very good because your mind is very nice. If you want to sit down to meditate, your mind gets concentrated very quickly. It's a very fine mind. It's not like a kind of mind you have to do a wrestling match. It's a very fine mind. Of course, clear complexion, because after all, your body is a reflection of your mind. If the person passes away, he dies without a mind of confusion. He dies with full awareness. And when he gets reborn, of course, with very clear mind, he gets reborn in very good states, good planes of existence. Alright? So this is as much as I want to talk about meditation. Let me move on a little bit more. So I mentioned to you what metta is all about. Okay? First, metta as we traditionally know. Second, metta as loving acceptance. What is loving acceptance and all that? I went into some great detail telling you about loving acceptance. And I tell you about the benefit of practicing metta. What is this, the effect of this attitude on us? Okay? Then I mentioned to you about metta as being used in meditation. How about metta as used in our daily life? Now we must try to carry some of the things that we gain from meditation into our daily life. Even if you don't meditate, you can still practice metta in your daily life. Okay. Now how do we apply metta in the daily life? Try to use metta in everything that you do. As you eat, as you go to the toilet, as you brush your teeth, as you chew your food, as you breathe, as you walk, everything that you do. If your mind is not concentrated on anything, let your thoughts be on metta. You think you can do that? Most of the time what happens is our thoughts will be thinking about this, about that, you get worried about this, thinking about what? Thinking about the past, thinking about the future, never at this present moment. So instead of having this mind which runs to the back and to the future, why don't you keep the mind to the present moment and just fill it up with loving thoughts? Can or not? Even as you sit down here while waiting for a speaker, just radiate thoughts of loving kindness. May all people in this hall be well and happy. May they be free from harm and danger. May they be free from mental suffering, be free from physical suffering. May they be well, happy and peaceful. You just sit down there, you radiate thoughts of loving kindness. Nobody will know you're doing metta. Nobody will say, hey, that guy is funny. Nobody will say that. You just sit down, you can even open your eyes. But you radiate thoughts of loving kindness. Early in the morning, as you get out from your house, as you lock the door, you can also lock the door with metta. As you go to the front gate, open the front gate, you can also open the gate with metta. As you lock the gate, you can lock the gate with metta. Then you decide to walk to the bus stop. So as you walk to the bus stop, you radiate metta. As you wait for the bus number, 44, 42, 16, whatever bus. And to take. You see the bus 44. No, I'm waiting for bus 16, never mind. May all beings be well and happy. Even those people down there, in the bus stop, you just radiate thoughts. So when the bus comes, bus number 16, stop. And when you go up on the bus, you radiate thoughts of loving kindness to the conductor. May you be well and happy. You take a seat, sit down. May all beings in this bus be well and happy. And just radiate. And you're sitting down, dreaming, yawning away, thinking what to do, planning. A mind busy, just radiate thoughts of loving kindness. Then, eventually you arrive at your destination, you get up from the bus, as you step down from the bus, radiate thoughts of loving kindness to all the people in the street. So you walk to your building where you work. As you walk to the building, you go to the lift, press the number, you press the number, radiate thoughts of loving kindness. May all beings be well and happy. You get in the lift, there are some people down there, you get in the lift, you don't have to say good morning, good morning, good morning. No need. You just sit down, stand down there and say, may all people in this place be well and happy. Get out of the lift, get in the office, and so on, You see, if you can do that, you can never say that I don't have time to practice. Even then, there's so much opportunity for us to practice. So we put loving kindness in every situation. Especially when it comes to waiting, queuing up in the supermarket, you have to donate a credit card. If you have credit card, you don't have credit card, as you bring out your notes, waiting with your goods waiting. So radiate thoughts of loving kindness to the people standing in a row, as well as to the girl at the counter as she punches the number, tong, 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 tong. Huh? Eventually, you come to the counter, put your things down, you take your money, huh? And then radiate thoughts of loving kindness. But of course, when you get the change, make sure that you count your change. After that, thoughts of loving kindness, you put inside and call, please, the good, give me money back. then it's going to be very unpleasant, especially you go back and say, hey, just now you give me money back or not? You give my change back or not? Make sure you count. That means when you have to be mindful of what you're doing, like counting money and all, you stop that radiation and you just count, and when that is over, you can radiate back again. So it's not so hard, isn't it? But what you need is a mental habit. Now, it's very beneficial to do this kind of mental radiation, even for a split second, very beneficial. In fact, the Buddha mentions this. Even as long as it takes, according to the Buddha, an elephant to flap its ear, An elephant, once in a while flaps its ear. As quick as it takes an elephant to flap its ear, if you can do metta for that short amount of time, it still brings you a lot of benefit. The Buddha mentioned in the Dhammapada, let no man think lightly of good. Don't just think, nothing lah. Don't let no man think lightly of good, saying in his heart, it will not come on to me, that I will not get back the benefit of this good. Even by the falling of water drops, our water pot is filled. Even little drops of water will fill a water pot. The wise man becomes full of good, even if he gathers it little by little. So even if you gather good little by little, it can really become a lot. It accumulates. So don't say, nothing lah, this little thing while waiting in a cave radiate, Even if you can do that, it's a lot of benefit to you. And I think the more important thing is that when you do it, what happens? You're creating a mental habit. You're creating a mental habit. Because more often than not, you forget to do it. And when you forget, you should remind, radiate metta. Remind yourself, radiate metta, radiate metta. Then after all, it becomes a mental habit. And when it becomes a mental habit, if you decide to go for a retreat, I think it's quite easy to sit down and meditate. It helps you in your meditation. So no matter what situation you're in, no matter what situation you encounter, you let loving kindness have to guide your actions, have to guide your thoughts. When you deal with people, especially people who are unpleasant, you try to practice metta. And I have also experienced this myself, especially when people sit around the table and when they evaluate your work, they become very, very critical. Before you go there, you sit in your room and you're radiate metta. Then when you go to the meeting, you radiate metta, because you find that they change, it'll become very hard, and they're tearing you apart, and you think that they're going to fall on you like hawks and eagles. It doesn't happen actually. When you radiate thoughts of loving kindness to them, and somehow things become much smoother. Even when angry people, have you ever encountered with angry people? And if you radiate metta to him, he becomes very angry, he shouts, why did you do this? Da, 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 da. And he says, well, the reason why I do this, like this, like this, and you send, may you be well, may you be happy. I say, why, da, 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 da. You say, may you be well, may you be happy. Then you see his anger subsiding, very so. And eventually he was wondering, hey, how come I'm angry? He doesn't know why he was angry. It is remarkable. You can see the transformation. But you can use metta. Instead of sending anger for anger, hatred for hatred, use love to overcome anger. Use love to overcome hatred. This is the advice of the Buddha, and it really works. In fact, I can tell you of an example. Of this, one day I was at Kelong and I was giving a talk, and there was this lady who shared this example with us. She said that she is a person who doesn't know how to argue with people, doesn't know how to quarrel one. Now, she was living in this housing estate where next door to her was this lady, very quarrelsome. She quarreled with everybody, like with the husband, with the children, even with the man who sells the fish and pork. She'd go and quarrel with everybody. So, she's a very quarrelsome lady. And makes a lot of noise. Every day from morning to night, she'll start scolding somebody. So, of course, being such a quarrelsome lady, she also tends to scold a lot of things with this lady. So, this lady will be out in the garden. This lady, out of no reason, will start scolding her. But she says nothing and she goes into the house. So it seems that this neighbor was not satisfied. So one day it was like Chinese New Year, and this lady was just watering the plants, and she didn't realize that some of the water from the hose fell onto the next door, you know. So this lady next door started giving abusive speech. You know, Chinese, a lot of pantang one, You say, on Chinese New Year, when people give abusive speech, how do you feel? So you get very, very angry, isn't it? So this lady then just look at her and never say anything, never even reply back. This lady next door, actually she cannot stand it, you know. It seems that a few days later, she completely moved house. She really left. She cannot stand it anymore. Because I think maybe what she was looking for was a sparring partner. So this lady, all she did was she just kept quiet and looked at her. And that lady looked shocked, after scolding her and even getting back in return. She was so shocked. A few days later, she decided to pindah rumah, change her address, cannot stand it. She said, my neighbor, don't know what happened to her. How come she just look at me when I scold her? But if you want to look for good neighbors, that might be a good strategy. Alright. So no matter what situation you are in, try to use loving kindness. Loving kindness. Have belief in loving kindness, that if you have loving kindness, everything is going to be fine. Because when you have loving kindness, your mind is going to be clearer. And when you're going to act in a non-reactive way, chances are non-reactive way, more considered way. Whereas if you just act on impulse, some of the things which you do, you'll regret later on. So therefore your decisions always tends to be better with loving kindness when your mind is very clear. And if you are talking to an angry person, okay, when you see the angry person, just look at him. Just look what anger is doing to him. He's being knotted up, his face is all tight. So you don't also be like that, because you be like that, your face is going to be knotted up too. So you already thoughts of loving kindness to him as you speak to him, and just see what happens. So instead of reacting, you take note that he's angry, and you already thoughts of loving kindness to you, and they will change. They will change. And their idea of you will also change. And if you practice loving kindness, people will also wonder, how come you look different? How come you're so different today? How come I noticed that there's something different in you, not the same like when I saw you the last time. And you can experience this change too. Alright? So loving kindness has really got this ability to change you and also to change your environment around you. Because if you can go anywhere with loving kindness, the environment becomes much better too. Alright? And also another thing which you can do, we're talking about practicing loving kindness every day. Sometimes on the day our face will get taken up, especially when we do work. So once in a while, let's say when you go to the toilet and all that, just look in the mirror and you say, oh, my face is very tight. Time to radiate loving kindness. Soften yourself, soften. Sometimes you forget, you get very knotted up, very tense, especially when there's a lot of pressure on you. And then just remind yourself at odd moments, time to remember to practice loving kindness. Soften yourself. Be less tense. And then later on you can see that your eyes also start sparkling. That means you're actually quite relaxed. Otherwise the eyes look as if they're made of, I don't know, piercing eyes. Okay. And also there's another thing which I also like to share to you, that how we practice loving kindness. Try to make your first thought of the day and the last thought of the day the thought of loving kindness. Before you go to sleep, radiate thoughts of loving kindness to all beings. So that when you sleep, your last thoughts will be on loving kindness. And when you wake up, let your first thought be that of loving kindness as well. Have a good thought for the day. And if you keep on doing that very often, you will notice that your loving kindness becomes more habitual, becomes more natural to you. Make it as part of you. We call it internalization. Internalize it. Make it internal to yourself. Practice of metta. In fact, maybe let me just close this talk by giving you an example. This isn't directly to do with metta, but you know there is this machine which you call a biofeedback. I'm not sure whether you heard of it. In fact, just a few days ago, there was an article in the Star newspaper about biofeedback. What they do in biofeedback is they put some electrodes around your head, and they got a kind of a machine, a kind of a monitor. And when you feel tense, the machine will show some kind of red, orange color, some very bright colors. And when the mind becomes very relaxed, it will turn to like blue or green. And they say they could detect your brain waves, So if you are in a very restful state, awake and not sleeping, you are in this state what they call alpha state. And in the alpha state, you can actually see it on the screen. It's like a very blue and very green and very restful color. And when the person, by looking at these machines, and by just relaxing certain parts of his body, and by just giving cues to his mind, after a little while, very quickly he learns how to create this color, how to create that mental state which can bring him that relaxation, this alpha state of mind. After a while, you have that kind of ability to kind of switch your mental state. Say you feel tense, and you say, oh, I'm tense. Now let me switch to an alpha state. Straight away, they actually know how to trigger themselves to get into this alpha state, just by having this kind of biofeedback, they call it. And this method has been quite popular in the West. I'm not sure whether it's widely practiced in Malaysia. I'm not sure. But this is certainly one of the ways how people handle with stress and all that. Now, the newspaper article which I was reading was about this little girl. Let me see how old she was. I forgot whether she was 6 years old or 14 years old. Well, it doesn't matter about her age. But what happens is that she's a young girl, and she's got leukemia. And as part of the treatment, what they have to do is they have to put a needle in the backbone and drain some liquid from the backbone, and it's a very, very painful thing. And she's also a small girl, And in order to do that, 4 adults have to hold her down in order that the doctor can do that. So it's extremely painful. And that is even after giving her some anesthetic. But now, after doing this biofeedback, she can actually get into this state. And even when they pull it, she's aware of what's happening, of course, but she doesn't feel the pain. She only feels the poking of the needle, but you don't feel the pain. Like some of us, when we do injection, when they inject your hand and when you, as a natural reaction, when you tense your muscles, what happens? What happens after injection? You feel pain, Hand not so bad. If they inject down here, that's even worse. You find that you can't even walk properly, and it's true because of the tension of the muscles. So the next time if you go for an injection, try relaxing the muscles, see what happens. When you get up, you don't feel it anymore, it disappears. But this biofeedback can actually make the mind relax and make that portion of the backbone relax so they don't feel the pain. So I guess in the practice of Metta is also the same. This is what we mean by focusing on that area, softening the area, setting a thoughts of loving kindness in an area. So you could see that how this little girl doesn't feel the pain anymore, the pain that she used to experience when they pull out that kind of liquid by using biofeedback. It's also the same thing when you do, when you send your thoughts of loving kindness to that area and relax that area. It has the same effect as well. Alright? So maybe with that, let me just end this talk. And if you have questions, you can ask now. I don't think it's that easy to understand, maybe. What is more important is that you got to practice it. Do you find that it's quite clear? Did I explain it in a very clear way? What loving acceptance is? Do you think you'd like to try it? Loving acceptance? You should try it. You should try it and see what a wonderful thing it is. And then you wonder, why in the first place have I never thought of that before? It's a very wonderful thing. And in fact, I'm very grateful, to have learned it from a reverend, from a monk who taught this to me. Loving acceptance of the present moment. Don't fight, accept it with loving kindness. Okay? Any questions? Either on the practice or on the talk? Yes. Tensions and anxiety, How do you overcome tensions and anxiety? I would say, again, tensions and anxiety is one of the things that we have to face with in our normal life. Very natural, Things don't happen the way we want, we get tense. Things happen too slowly, we want it to change faster, we get tense. In other words, we always have some kind of preconceived ideas of what we want things to be. And sometimes we get worried, many of the things you worry never ever come true. You always sit down, and some people who are just perpetual worriers, they sit down and they have nothing to do, nothing better to do, they sit down and they start worry. And none of those things come true. Like some of the things when you do something, and then you go away, and there's nothing else that you can do, right? It's beyond your control. Now, if you're a wise person, you shouldn't be worrying too much. Because if there's nothing you can do, then you shouldn't worry about it. But some people, even there's nothing to do, they sit down and they worry about that also. I mean, if it's out of your hands, there's nothing that you can do, you shouldn't worry so much about it. So one of the ways that you need to have a practical way of knowing what are the kind of worry, what are the kind of things that make you anxious, what are the kind of things that make you worry, and are these things reasonable? That is number one. Have a clear evaluation of the situation. Number two, just evaluate your habits. Is it a natural tendency of you to be very anxious, very worried? Some of you are, but some of you are not. So if you are, then you need to actually take special steps in order to overcome that. Okay? Number three, we get worried and all that because we compare too much. We always compare ourselves with others. Oh, he's better than me, or he's worse off than me. You compare. So you compare achievements. You put standards. So because of that, you get very anxious. You get very worried. The next thing is you get worried is you are never present here at this present moment. You're always living in the past, worrying about the past, remembering, comparing now with the past or with the future. So if you can be in this present moment, a lot of your worries will be gone. If you can live now at the present moment, a lot of your worries are gone. So this is what we see by having metta, having loving acceptance, just accepting that worry have a reason. Now, worry is what you call unwholesome mental state. It is a reason, it is an effect of an unwholesome cause. Now that cause has been planted sometime in the past. So now you're experiencing the effect. So if you are worried, you shouldn't get worried. If you're anxious, you shouldn't get anxious about it. It's just the ripening of an unwholesome karma. So just be aware of it as it arises and recognize it. And be here in this present, live now in this present moment. Don't worry about the past, don't worry about the future. Be now. What do you have? And handle with that and send loving kindness to it. And you find that it can solve a lot of our worry and anxiety. Instead of feeling very tense, instead of finding our stomach tied up in knots, we find actually the stomach is very relaxed and you feel actually more healthy. That is why when a person gets more successful, they get more sick actually. Because if you work under constant pressure, your whole stomach is tied up in knots. Even as your fist, if you clench your fist like that, for 5 minutes, what happens to your hand? You find all the muscles aching. What happens if all the various parts of your organ is all tense? If your muscles are tense, if your veins and arteries are tense, what will happen to your health? So you must learn how to kind of let go. And one of the very useful things is to make it a kind of a habit. At least maybe if you can find some time every time in a day to sit down and do some meditation. Even if you don't have meditation, you sit down and send thoughts of loving kindness to people. Even sending thoughts of loving kindness to yourself itself will have certain therapeutic benefits. Even if you sit down and you say, I'm tense now, let me relax. I'm feeling very anxious. There is anxiety in the mind. Let me not fight with this anxiety. Let me have a loving acceptance of it. May I be free from harm and danger. May I be free from anxiety. May I be well and happy. Even as you say these thoughts to your mind, you find that you're yourself progressively relaxing, isn't it? So you find yourself relaxing. So this is how you can handle, you can be a less tense person, a more relaxed person. And this is important because it helps you live a better life. It helps you become a better person as well. And a much better Buddhist. Okay? Any questions, something like that? So you got a problem on how you tackle anxiety and worries? You need to have a realistic assessment of what is it that causes the anxiety. Not imagined, but realistic. And ask yourself, is it something that you can do something about or something you cannot do about? And if there's something that you can do about, maybe you could set a timetable when you can do it. Don't just keep it in the mind, because sometimes we say, we want to do something but we keep it in the mind and we procrastinate. That can cause us a lot of worries. Sometimes myself also like that, Sometimes in office you find, we're done with so many things in our mind. Then I say, okay, I got enough of it. I do not want to feel anxious about it. Okay, have a piece of paper. What is it that I have to do? Number 1. Number 2. Number 3. So list down all the things that I have to do. Okay. Arrange them according to priority. what shall I do first? What shall I do second? And tackle them. And at the end of the day, find out how many of those things I have done. Then I find that I'm no longer anxious, you see. Otherwise, when you keep in the mind, I have to do this, I have to do that, and so many things, then it's a lot of imagined things, a lot of things. Those are little things, important things, but when you keep it in the mind and when it's not clear how you're going to tackle it, it sits at the back of the mind and creates that kind of anxiety for you. So you list down, have a realistic assessment of what you like to do with them. Whether it's something that you can do about or something that you cannot do about. Something you cannot do about, okay, I just let it go, I know what to do. Let it be, you know. If something you can do, then act on it. Any questions? If you don't have any questions, let us share some merits. Let us dedicate these positive merits that we have accumulated today and coming to the temple, participating in a Buddha Puja, listening to a Dhamma talk, radiating loving kindness for a few moments, and let us dedicate these positive merits to all beings. If they are in need of these merits, may these merits benefit them in some way or other. Or if they are born in fortunate conditions, may they rejoice in these merits that we have done. Let us dedicate our positive motivations to all beings. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share in this merit that I have first acquired by the use of wholesome thoughts, words and action. May all beings use this merit for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness and good health. May beings living in space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of mine. May they long protect the Buddhist dispensation. By the power of this merit sharing, may we attain the peace that passes understanding, the supreme bliss of nirvana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.